Be woo woo, be woo woo, be woo woo, be woo woo, be woo woo. That is a sound that DMU-T1 will not want you to hear because they are 2-1 up. They are at match point in this series. They want to deny you silver scrapes, guys.
I'm not gonna lie. I think I could have gone without hearing that too. But you know, sometimes we can't have everything we want in life. But we do have a game to cast of League of Legends, and I do certainly enjoy that. And of course, enjoy casting that with you, Stan. A lot of things to talk about yet again. We talked about going into the last game about, okay, the difference between game 1, game 2, DMU turning things around in game 3 again as well, making sure that particularly Heavy Dubstep had a good matchup and he could start impacting the map. Has been so impactful in these games. We'll now have to see Couch Family pull out another 2 wins back-to-back if they want to claim the crown.
Wouldn't be surprised to see the same bans coming out of DMU-T1, which we have been seeing all day long. And apart from that blip in game number 1, it's been working out for them, taking away the Kayle and Samira on top of the Swain that you already see banned away. Something that has surprised me has been the level of priority on this Shen. You yourself saying it is essentially top tank material right now. And it is going to be Alphamos with the first opportunity to pick it up, providing it's not banned away.
I guess Alphamos is not really feeling confident taking any real contesting matchups into the Shen. I guess a lot of fighters in the current meta have found it a little difficult with some of the itemization to find good win conditions, particularly when you can gank top with so many different picks. That would be a definite interesting first pick. I do think that the Shen is probably the pick you want to go towards. That is what they lock in.
For a moment thought the Janna might be a proxy of some sort. Instead, no, it is going to be the Shen, as we already said. It's been highly prioritized by both of the teams. It's been on the winning side 2 out of 3 times, I believe. We are seeing a potential hover there over the set, which was a counter pick to it earlier on that we saw Spirit going for. No reason not to go for it again, as it worked out well in game number 2.
Okay, so we could have the possibility of having the Shen Kayn combo return for Capistrong, and I'm going to change my notes over again because that's what they've done. They've changed sides.
Of course.
And that would be a really good brawling diving combo yet again from the side of Cabbage Family. Will they pick up an Ashe which is unbanned? In fact, the Kayn has been taken away by DMU, realizing the fact that, hang on, that combo worked really well for them in game 1. Maybe we shouldn't do that. And now they have themselves a brawler/tank top lane, because of course Spirit's been playing that with the Sunfire Aegis, alongside the Kayn, who's been so good at just staying alive in the backline. Maybe not so much last game though.
No, it didn't have the highest of highs last time around. The Ashe now left unbanned. Greg is able to pick this one up. Definitely his standout champion of today's competition. Love the engage that came through from it. Also kept himself in a certain amount of safety. It was paired with the Leona last time, and honestly, that would be what I would want to see locked in now, as Melvin Izzle goes nuts in the chat.
I really like this. Ivan, wait, did he get some changes on this patch? I need to go quickly check. He did. That's one of the things, like, oh, no one's going to pick Ivan. I won't look up those changes. Of course, that... Shame on me. I guess I thought that Nidalee would be much more important.
We're not hearing in our ears anything about proxy picks. So I do believe this Ivan is actually being locked in, as we see the Kai'Sa locked in for Null champion Soksu.
Okay, Ivan, they're confirmed to be the real picks. The Kai'Sa has been locked in.
I heard my producer they're saying real, and I was like, Rel hasn't been released yet.
That would be certainly very awkward. I don't know what that champion does. Lulu bandwagon. All right. So that would be... so Lulu has some changes this patch too. Much better in solo lanes right now because the Glitter Lance has had some extra damage tacked on if you do hit both of those Glitter Lances onto the same target. Looking through at the Ivan changes, particularly having the Q reduced by 2 seconds at all ranks, so it's gone from like 10 to 8 seconds at max rank, means that he's just got so much more utility. Also having like an extra second knocked off his E, and his and Daisy having a higher base attack speed too. Just everything he does in terms of disrupting team fights and making sure that his carries stay alive, just much more effective this patch.
Interesting one here to see the the Lulu Janna banned away. Of course, we saw that potential hover of the Janna earlier on. It's enough to scare the opposition, and mostly Grumpy is going to have 2 of these Protect Mages taken away. The Enchantress supports. Now, one last ban to come through. It's a nothing ban.
Okay, you know what? The reason that these enchantments are coming through, I think, is because you have a set and a Kayn who are really good at dealing with low-range targets, but kind of hate to be disengaged from the way that Janna, Lulu do. Rakan getting locked in is going to open up the possibility of the Leona once again. Nami is the last enchanter support, which is doing pretty well on the meta that I can remember right now, that has the ability to disengage with a lot of hard CC with like the Aqua Prison and the Tidal Wave.
Potentially
depends what Couch
Seraphine, I guess?
has been touched this patch. It also could be put into the mid lane too. That's where that champion has traditionally gone, and but particularly with the shield being increased on herself now as well, that would be a pick. It's not going to be the Zed. Still an AD assassin. We have Yone locked in until. Well, I mean, I'm hoping it's not a proxy pick, but
a bit very surprising proxy pick. I think usually if you're proxy picking, you take something so completely out of the meta, there's no chance the other team picks it. I think that Yone is real. I think we're getting it in the mid lane. The question is, what's mostly Grumpy bringing us in the support role?
So I really like this. So there's a team which I really want to hark back to, which is Misfits back in season 7. So what happened in season 7 was the
Was that the Max Law Alfari iteration?
That was Max Law Alfari Misfits in 2017. And we saw the likes of Fervor Battle Leona and a lot of Ivern prior to coming out of that team. Why did they play so much with Ivern? Why did they play so much in Leona when it was mainly like your Janna and stuff coming out in the bot lane?
Just to let you know, the Nasus there is a Lissandra locked in for Samjay.
Okay.
So please talk more about Misfits, one of my favorites.
We'll touch on that Lissandra as Champions Light's being remade. So why did Misfits at that point in time play that? Well, because Ivern is the one jungler that can build you an Ardent Sensor in your defense and your attack speed, AD carry buffing up items, stuff like Ardent Sensor, stuff like a lot of things around that kind of time too. You can build stuff like Mikhail's. You can be that support from the jungle in a way which no one else can. That means you can shift that responsibility away from an enchanter which would normally fulfill that role. Give yourself some engage, which can give you some kill lanes in that bottom side of the map. We know that mostly Grumpy been very proficient on those engaging champions, whereas Porp has been more of the shot caller, and of course Ivern has that intricate pathing which comes across. I really, really like this coming out from Cabbage Family because it fits their team's MO.
I think that you're right on that one. That being said, however, this is a team that have found themselves put quite far behind in the last 2 games. They're certainly under the pressure coming down from TMUT1 for sure. Is Ornn the answer to that? May well be. It would be an answer that would keep them in this series and take us to the silver scrapes that I know you want to hear properly rather than my wonderful, wonderful rendition coming to Spotify soon. And we are... I never like to throw you under the bus, but I'm going to, Alex. Do we expect to see an Imperial mandate out of Ivern?
That's a good question. I would.
If you don't know, that's
so.
fair enough. It's not something we see a lot of.
Yeah, I can go check OPGG and see what people are playing on that. Melvin Islor, this is where you really want Melvin Islor on cast, isn't it? Huh?
Can we sub him in?
Oof! Thank you. Thanks for.
Can we get Loki instead of Nymeria? Oh, I'm being told no. Pants says no. I'm afraid.
Oh no. So the thing
about a catchphrase right there. Pants says no.
The thing about Imperial Mandate this patch is that we saw a lot of champions like Lissandra building it and Ahri, Aurelion Sol, because you'd build Imperial Mandate and then list Leandri's Torment, not Leandri's, Rylai is the one that slows on your abilities, and it meant that you just have a lot of extra damage tacked onto your kit because every time you spammed that ability to slow people and get extra procs of damage. Imperial Mandate does less damage when you proc that own damage mark yourself now, but your ally damage has gone up way up. So if you're going to be continually queuing and slowing with Daisy getting the knock up and the slow from the Trigger Seed too, this could be a really good Imperial Mandate game from the Ivern, as you were saying.
Yeah. Noodalicious, I see you there. Afrika to Nullseen, yikes. I'll tell you what, with the way Afrika performed at the end of last split, I think Nullseen is a step up.
Wow, you just murdered a franchise there, buddy.
Oh, well, that's what I'm here for. They're not an LPL team, so screw them. We see the teams now completely rounded out. We see that Lissandra, of course, taking the place there for Samjay to play into the Yone. That itself a very interesting matchup that we haven't really touched on.
Sorry, was that about the Lissandra in terms of... Yes, that was the last pick that goes in. So Lissandra really good at locking down a target in place and making sure that they don't really have a chance to say anything about it. And when you have someone like a Kai'Sa who wants to take that first kill and just wail on someone, really, having someone to just lock down in place and having the double engage threat, once again, we've talked about it a couple of times, about having multiple engage options so you're not too telegraphed in your team composition between the Lissandra and the Rakan, and maybe a sat flank too. This Kai'Sa has a lot more ability to be set up for than maybe some of these previous compositions. Okay, well, we'll find out whether it works out for Samjay taking the Lissandra here. Of course, if it does, and it works out for the rest of DMUT1, they will secure themselves a split victory here in the North. They will take that lion's share of the prizes, the Amazon vouchers that will come through, the RP as well. They will have a very Merry Christmas with that. Of course, even if you take second place in the series, great prize as well, and there are also prizes for the third place teams, possibly even fourth, but I would have to check my notes on that one. At the end of the day, however, crucially, both these teams have guaranteed qualification
qualification through to varsity. This is where things really start to pick up here in the Null, where there's massive prizes. We've got like grand prizes for the first place in varsity that sometimes are worth up to £5,000 in terms of what's actually provided there. Some of them are what I would describe as money can't buy prizes as well. Both of these teams guaranteed to have a spot in that one, and why not go into it with a little bit of dominance, taking the winter split?
And also, I mean, a lot of the purpose of the Newell and being part of the university scene is to prepare some of these players for a competitive career in their various esports. This is a way to get a foot on that ladder if you do perform well enough. And iron sharpens iron. You've got all of these teams with the fangs bared, knives out, trying to really cut and hack their way to the top. That having this higher level of competition and having this experience in a best of 5 on a pressured scenario on the big stage can really help you increase and improve your game. And coming into varsity next split, this kind of experience you'd hope would really build onto better things.
And we're going to have some really great teams performing there. We've spent a few weeks covering the playoffs for varsity, finding out who our remaining 4 teams would be that joined the 8 teams who auto-qualified due to their performance in Swiss, the teams that have competed in this particular prize playoff. We now know our 12 teams coming into varsity. May touch on exactly what those teams are going to be later on. They'll get to play off for that. But right now we have to turn our attention back to DMU T1, who find themselves after an early disadvantage 2-1 up in this series. One more game, it makes them the winter champs, makes Null champion Soxo's name not look so stupid after all. Will he get that accomplishment? Will the rest of the team be happy? Or can Cabbage Family bite back? Come back after this short break to find out. This might be the last time in this series, the last time this year for Null League of Legends that we jump onto the Rift. If I'm perfectly honest, it would make my prediction correct, but I still hope to be wrong. I want 5 games. I want Silver Scrapes. Can Cabbage Family do it?
Got to hope so. If you're from Kent, supporting that university's representatives in the Newell finals this split. We don't have a level 1 yet again. Really haven't seen a prevalence of them so far. We did see the Olaf going for an early invade, but honestly, Ivan is not the champion to do that himself. He's often trying to avoid people in the earliest levels of the game and then try and make things work through some very tricky gank paths.
The last time that I saw an Ivan in a game, the Ivan forgot to take Smite, first of all, so we had to have a reset, and then forgot to take any items and had a very unfortunate attempt at a first clear. It would appear that Porp is a bit more of a professional than that, and has at the very least got Smite and also a smiting item.
Thank gosh for that. Okay. So, not the absolute worst start that you could have. Kane starting on red buff, not starting on Raptors, not starting on Wolves. Going towards... and then we have Shen teleporting top lane.
I'm confused by that one. On the plus side, probably wasn't envisioned, so Spirit won't necessarily have this piece of information, but Alphamo's definitely going to be missing out on that one.
Will be. I wonder if that's just trying to big brain DMU on what Cabbage Family thought might be an invade, because of course you don't want to be invaded as an Ivan, you want things to go according to your paths. I mean, Ivan is in a very strong spot in some ways. I mean, towards the end of last season, we saw, I mean, when Tyler One was doing his jungle to challenger stream, he ended up picking up a lot of Ivan, and that means that as a relatively popular streamer, some of those tips and tricks will be out of the bag by now. Let's see if Pop has any particular take on this champion.
I'm really going to be paying attention towards Gregors in this game, because for me, a lot is going to hang on whether the ADC from Cabbage Family is able to perform at the same level as in Game 1. Games 2 and Game 3 just really haven't seen quite that same level with the various different champions he's opted into.
I think I'd have to agree with that. I think having the Ashley Loner lane again, it's much more comfort for the side of Cabbage Family in terms of where historically this lane has been more of a utility lane. Oh, Pop going in, but doesn't have Smite here.
Yeah, Pop is going to be able to secure the camp, finding damage on towards Heavy Dubstep, who's looking to try and get as much as possible towards a conversion. Meanwhile, it's going to be a bounce back from the Soul Unbound from Sean F9 to keep himself alive. Has opted into the cleanse against this Lysandra.
I think that's quite important. Does have the fleet forward as well for that sustaining laning phase. Of course, Ivan didn't need to smite away that camp. Had put down the mark beforehand and wasn't CC'd out of taking that camp, so it goes in. And Heavy Dubstep has to beat a hasty retreat.
Yep, Gregors, meanwhile, just absorbing as much of the CS as possible. Has formed 10 CS behind the Kai'Sa early on, but is able to clear up most of what is running towards his turret.
Okay, so nothing really drastic in that bot lane as things stand. Set doing okay in that top lane against the Shen. Of course, we know this to be the tanky Set, but will he be tanky enough to make it out of this gank?
Taunt Connect shield comes onto Alphamos courtesy of the Ivern. Spirit without the Haymaker available, having used it just a moment or so before, leaves Alphamos to pick up first blood on the Shen.
Shen cleaved in twain by the Spirit Sword of Shen, who's going to push in that wave to turret, forcing out the teleport from the top laner of DMU. First blood going to Cabbage Family in a very important game.
It certainly is. And now you have to ask just what can they start to do with this lead. We saw Porp make the same sort of ganks last time around on the Nunu, but then unable to really power the Cabbage Family through the mid-game a little while ago. The question is, can he do better this time around? That was obviously in Game 2. Game 4 is now upon us, and it's kind of the same story again.
Okay, I really like what Dubstep's doing here, and sees that the bot lane's recalled, sees that Ivan was just top, goes in for a free wrap to take. Even though he knows his own camp's up, it's just more important to take away stuff from the Ivan, make sure that easy sitting farm is not available to that Ivan, because if Ivan gets ahead and this Yone and Ashe are still relevant in the game, having stuff like the Staff of Flowing Water, the Ardent Censer, and the Imperial Mandate will empower these attack speed carries and be such a strong enchanter in this game that it'll be very hard for DMU to outdo the DPS of both these attack speed scaling crit carries.
And you know that, of course, I never want to take away from anything you say in that sense at all. But we do have Melvin Izzle, as we see Sean F going very, very aggressive with the Soul Unbound, able to hop back nice and quickly. We have Melvin Izzle, one of our other casters here at the Null, who's done a fantastic job this split, who, of course, plays a huge amount of Ivan, saying that he's expecting to see Moonstone renew it into Ardent, Staff of Flowing. So we'll see exactly where this composition goes towards as Pop gets a little bit more gold under his belt.
I mean, certainly could be one of those items. Well, we'll have to see how that plays out. See what Porp's take on the champion is. Speaking of Porp, not going to be on the same side of the map for this Ocean Dragon. I think one of the things about Ivan is that if you have to be stealing a dragon, something's gone wrong for you. You really don't want to be contesting in that sense. You want to be using Daisy to make fights really, really awkward and playing around your carries. You never want to be the person who has to be going in for the smite steal, because Ivan is just not really set out for that, like some other junglers are.
That is certainly true. Didor just jumping back to the safety of Soxu. We see, of course, how quickly they were able to eat through that dragon with the shred coming through from the Kai'Sa. Perhaps the same might happen towards a Baron later in the game. It's going to be a long time before we start talking about that, though. So much still to happen. 600 gold lead in the early for Cabbage Family. Of course, they must win this game if they want to continue this series.
They will absolutely have to. I guess going back to the Ivan Imperial Mandate versus the Moonstone Renewer thing. So I guess it's a different in mentality about where is your damage going to come from and whether you want that damage to be more protected with the Moonstone Renewer or whether you want it to be doing more damage from across the board with the Imperial Mandate. I think the problem is you have a very low damage. You have a lower damage support in Leona, of course. I mean, support's not where you expect that to come out of, and Ivan's not going to be doing that much damage himself. Shen is not a carry on the top side, so you're waiting for really this Yone and the Ashe to be the lion's share of the work. What happens if one of them gets picked off? Then it doesn't matter if like the other one is alive. If they just need to be doing optimal damage. I feel like because you've got this 2-threat composition versus the likes of the set, you might want that extra damage to come in from those two. Just try and prioritize where the damage is coming in.
So one of the interesting things we've just seen here is a quick awareness from Porp, knowing the time of the red buff, stealing it away, obviously with the smite able to take that camp next to instantly. As a result, Yone gets a red buff as a bonus.
Does. Okay, so this is one of the stronger things about Ivern, and it's going to be going in, and they interrupt the claw.
Zenith Blade comes in, ultimate onto Samjay, hoping that we can see RMX putting damage down. Porp actually has to flash out, and despite it being a 3 versus 2, the 3 are the ones who walk away wounded.
Really like how Samjay plays that out. Ends up seeing the Yone ult coming through before he gets CC locked, puts down the ultimate, and Yone flies right into the turret, doesn't use the E to get out, takes an extra turret shot, and Porp blowing his flash Q is an extra cherry on top of the side of DMU, but they will have to try and survive in bot lane.
Mostly Grumpy having to flash away, Didol eating an Ashe ult to the face, however. That was a summoner and an ultimate both burn just to get the Leone to safety, having taken a slightly poor path.
Okay, so seeing frenetic fights across the board, and Set recalling in front of Alpha Monster, taking the champion. We do see Barbing Cinders built up on both of them, so it will once again be the Sunfire Aegis on that set in the top lane. Don't have a dragon spawning just yet. Herald up and available. Might see that taken down by one of these teams. But as it stands, looks like bot lane pushing in for the side of Cabbage Family, and Kane being on the spot side of the map, maybe looking for a gang towards there from the side of the enemy.
Questions were raised. Ultimate second. Zenith Blade connects onto Didol. Mostly Grumpy yet again going aggressive. Has played nicely onto Leona, and yet again has the Ashe to support. Gregor's looking so much more confident on this Ashe than he has on any other champion this series.
I agree. We were calling for it in game 2, and the Braum was picked up. Braum didn't really feel like it worked out in that game. Maybe it was some facet of the composition which we weren't privy to, but of course, looks right now that Leona is being a bit more high impact than it has done than some of the other champions, as you were saying, were played in the rest of that series, already making impacts mid, landing Zenith Blades on the Rakan bot, and we know that Leona, as we've said all series, is a bit of a problem for the Rakan. Got to see how that works out later into the game, though.
Speaking of impact, RMX looking to try and get a bit of a transformation quicker than we saw Antler Kane in the last game from Porp. I know there are a lot of people calling that one out. Well, this time around we see a CS advantage for RMX. Hasn't got himself any kill participation just yet, though.
No, not just yet. Of course, the only kill participation across the board is in that top lane gang, which led to first blood. Still waiting a long time. Rakan walking forward, trying to get some poke down, trying to land those Qs for any kind of healing. But Greg is really putting down a lot of damage.
I know it's not directly relevant to this game, but this is more from my interest. Where's Xayah at as a champion here in preseason?
Crit champions have been all over the place. I think that not having Essence Reaver in the place where it was has hit Xayah in particular in ways which other champions which did build it don't rely on it quite as much. Like Lucian still gets to build it if he wants to. Fellows can still build through some other items, and it feels like Xayah doesn't necessarily have the most optimal itemization right now, but we'll see what happens to the last changes to Infinity Edge with that champion.
Sean F going with the Soul Unbound, unable to seal the fate, however, of Samjay, who does have that ultimate available should yet another fight come in the mid lane. We're going to have a second dragon in the game spawning in 30 seconds time. That will be a missed that. It will be a Cloud Dragon this time around. That means we're going to be looking at either Mountain or Infernal Rift. Okay, so the extra ability, the ultimate cooldown haste, important for both teams. Sand really wants to be using that quite often, as does the Shen. We see Daisy put out, see if they can get any harassment down as things go. Gets the trigger seed off of Daisy and gets the shield off of Rakan. I guess that's some value. Feels a little early. Samjay has to teleport, has opted into... sorry, that's going to be both Samjay and also Spirit coming in. I want to get this one away. We see lots of Daisy, lots of Ivern bushes up, but they're not able to secure much so far. Sean F trying to turn the attention towards the Kai'Sa, trying to get the zoning, but pull back with the Soul. Now we do see Cloud is going to be the attention for both these teams. It's going to be RMX who's waiting in the Dragon Pit. Claw comes through. Here comes Didol finding a massive quickness, finding the torch. Sean F has to escape over the wall, looks at the main seal, gets good damage down from the blade. Alphamos finds the kill on the Didol that starts this one up, but it's immediately answered as Kai'Sa finishes off the Leona. Nice play coming out of Soksu as he tries to escape. He comes straight back in with the Killer Instinct, and it is going to be a double kill for Alpha Moss. Meanwhile, Spirit going lower and lower, being chased down by Alpha, who wants the triple, finds the triple. Soksu might be the next way. Penta freaking Gale here in the normal final for Alpha Moss.
It's not Surgeon Shen, but the doctor will see you now. Alpha Moss diagnoses the problem his team has and that there's too many damn enemy champions alive. Takes care of it swiftly. 6-0 on the top laner in this deciding game.
Dear grief, what just happened? Alpha Moss, who was one of the key players in game number 1, in my opinion, on this Shen, has just set the Rift alight.
Absolutely has, and he has a Sunfire Aegis to further that end too. Huge amounts of gold going on to that top laner. I really love how Greg has played that fight too. Ends up flashing out of the initial engage after Lyssandra's claw was blocked once again by a pinpoint route from the Ivern, meaning that the double engage of the Rakan Lysandra was broken up. Greg has managed to flash out, get optimal DPS down, and survive the fight. Even though the Kai'Sa flies in at the end of it, manages to pick up a kill and an assist as things go. Huge teamfight win for the Cabbage family.
Sunfire Cape not broken, by the way. What an absolute series of plays. Alpha Moss just seemed to find target after target, barely lost any health themselves as well. Wow. Not only finding a penta, but finding a penta that could easily swing the balance of this series back in your team's favour.
Absolutely could do. That is the gold that you need. It's unfortunately onto the Shen, I guess, but knowing how well Alpha Moss has been playing and how Alpha Moss will be wanting to drive that backline and making sure that Kai'Sa, amongst other champions, are held to account in these team fights, it will go really far in that regard.
Meanwhile, Kate comes in trying to find something of a gank, but straight away, Sean F out to safety. Played the limits very, very nicely in game 1. Second game felt like it was going okay. Game 3 a little on the irrelevant side, if I were to be harsh. Sean F this time looking to make sure he is entirely relevant. Got 4 assists in that last fight. Got some good damage down. Was one of the few targets to die, however. RMX is going to take away camp, and Ivan does their best impression of Kindred, saying, that was meant to be ours.
It is indeed. So, Ivan was messing around on the top side of the map, takes a Herald alongside Alpha Moss. Sean F90 going for a decent amount of damage onto Lysandra and has been doing pretty well at judging these trades. In that last fight, much like the Cabbage family have been doing with their entirety of their team's ideology in the last couple of team fights, playing to the limits, going very, very low, forcing Kai'Sa to ult in, almost with the cleanup coming out from Sosu, who is, of course, looking to make that name of Newell champion stand out and be held truthful. But Sean F90 making sure that the extra cooldowns had to be used on them, and then of course Shen cleaned up without those being available to peel away from that top lane.
Stop, collaborate, and listen. We've got ourselves a near 2,000 gold advantage, and almost every single bit of it is in the pocket of Alpha Moss. 1,700 gold up on Spirit.
I would really like to see Cabbage family try and transition into a more siege style of play at some point if they do manage to get a couple more dragons under their belt, start getting a lot of the items they need, because when you play with Ivan, you just chuck Daisy forward. You have the Leona ultimate under control too. If you ward out over walls to make sure that the Kayn and Lysandra can't just get on top of you and they're forced to fight front to back, I do think Cabbage family have a lot of tools to make this a very interesting team fight game behind their 2 attack speed carries.
You gotta take a moment to thank RMX as well for playing this particular Kayn skin, because I do get tilted when there are certain skins that have the face on the minimap change for the skin. There aren't many champions that do it, but the last Kayn skin did, and I never knew where he was.
I was there, like, oh, has he transformed yet? No, that's just that's the other Kayn skin, not the Odyssey one. The one he was released, which I actually can't remember the name of it. Is it like Demon Hunter? Anyway, right, okay, I'm unfortunately not as inclined to play Kayn as some other champions, but this game definitely. Does that count? Gotta see. Well, maybe Kayn will be making an impact on the top side of that. Says nope. The shield comes in from Ivan, and he disengages immediately. And
honestly, I think Ivan could have not been there, and that would have been Alpha Moss being perfectly safe as well. Ultimate burn from Spirit still doesn't have his flash available either. Of course, we are going to be paying attention towards when these drakes start to go down. Ivan secured the Herald, so another neutral objective into Porp's pocket. And another victory into Melvin is in the pocket. I'll concede this one. Moonstone Renewer built up by Porp on the Ivern, so will be more of that protection coming out. And when you've got the Immortal Shield Bow on top of the Yone and Ashe as well, a lot of peel to get through if you're looking at down the barrel of that from the side of DMU. Okay, well, the game has taken a slightly slower twist since that Penta came through. Frankly, I was glad. There was a lot of excitement. Now we've cooled down, but we're ready for the next big moment, and it may well happen around this dragon. It's the third of the game. We are, of course, on an Infernal Rift, so this is a soul that will be heavily contested by both teams.
It will be. Importantly, there is no mythic yet on Lysandra. We'll have to back before the next fight, but I don't actually think... Well, we'll have enough gold after this wave dies, but it still has to kill the turret, and the dragon's spawning already. So I think, actually, DMU might have to fight without Lysandra's mythic for this if they choose to engage. In fact, they're not going to. Kane's on the top side. It's going to be an Infernal over the side of Cabbage.
Daisy pops down just to join in the fun, and somewhere out there, Melvin is all with just a single tear happily in his eye, seeing the Ivan with 100% kill participation, taking away a second dragon of the game.
And this is exactly what we're saying. Ivan really doesn't want to be in a position where you're actually contesting for the dragon. You want to make sure that the map is set up in a way that it's kind of lose-lose for the enemy team. You don't want to have to go in for the likes of a Smite Steal. Yone going in for this, and the Q lands onto Ragan.
Yeah, Didal in a lot of trouble, will be able to dash away eventually. However, knockup still going to come through from Daisy. First turret comes in as Harold is going to be dropped here in the mid lane, looking for a second potential child. We're going to see RMX waiting on the side of that wall, looking to potentially try and get across, but I'm not too sure that this is a fight that we're going to see DMU want to take. In the end, the Herald is prevented from taking that second charge, and RMX disappears up onto the top side of his jungle.
Ashe wasn't there. I think that's an important thing for Cabbage Family in terms of them continuing that push or playing more aggressively. On the other side, you did have double teleport in the side lanes available to DMUT1. Of course, Shen was still in there, and talking of Shen, he has forced the flash out of set because once again, Porp makes his presence known.
Yeah, Spirit just doesn't get to have a flash in this game anymore.
Nope.
No sooner does he regain it than it is gold.
No, it is just, and that's very important because Set will be looking to maybe go for one of those flank plays themselves, as Lysandra and Kane were also keen to make in this game, try and get a flash ult of someone like the Ashe or the Yone into that backline. Of course, it's a little bit awkward onto Yone, because if you try and ult Yone and he just uses E before he hits you, he can just ping back to his immediate location. It makes things very, very difficult. So you're really looking to put a target onto that Ashe and make sure that they're the person that gets focused down by that Set if they do have the correct angle.
Well, again, we're just taking our time building up to his next objectives. A second Herald will spawn, but it'll only be on the Rift for around about a minute, I believe, if even that.
Right, it will be, let's have a look. It's going to be about 30 seconds until it spawns. There is a chance that you could kill that in time. You need to get to it pretty much on the spawn, because I think if you aggro it, it ends up staying until about 55 seconds, like 90 minutes, 55 seconds. You're not using that E to scout over the wall and sees that Kane is on the bottom side of the map, although no one's really moving towards that Herald. Looks like it's more about priority about these champions getting enough farm in these lanes for now.
I don't know about you, but in terms of recent champs release, in fact, I'd go as far as saying all the champs in the last year. From a purely visual perspective, I feel like Yone might be my favourite.
I really like what they did with Yone. I'm a big fan of the Spirit Blossom skin. I was a big fan of the Spirit Blossom event in general. I think it was a really good event as far as the
I'm so surprised that you enjoyed that.
Oh, wow. More Ari skins. Woo! No, I think that the whole event was really, really good. And the way that they've made Yone kind of almost a stand-in for Yasuo and has some similarities to his brother in the lore, but also being very, very different in the role that he can play in a team competition. It's been really fun to see. Speaking of that, Yone does take down the red buff, and the rest of the team are going towards that Herald. They will get it.
Yeah, there's about 7 seconds left to secure this one. That 2,000 health should not be a problem, and
like
it is just about going to go over to Ivan. That is a 2 out of 2 for Porp, helping out his numbers. They're now officially better than his solo queue ones.
So the legend goes. I think it's really... this will also be very important to see how DMU respond to the lack of vision that they might have in this game if they're forced out of river, because the threat that Leona and Ivan have with their engages, and Yone and Shen flying in out of nowhere. Excuse me, because we see that Cabbage Family, if they do put on that Ivan shield and they have all this buffing up potential coming out of that jungler and having Daisy to tank the Baron, they get to start Baron and peel off it so frequently that you have to respect the ability that they can just be very full HP and continually try that Baron.
Hey, draw your attention just back a moment to our conversation, especially around the Spirit event. For me, I'm older, more embittered than you are, and usually you're more positive. If I can take you out of that frame of mind for a moment, what would you say is your least favourite of the Champions release this year?
See, for me, I think release of Felios I found very difficult, but then they patched them up in terms of like the visuals of the guns he had, and I actually very much enjoy playing with Felios too. I don't think there's any of them I out and out hate. I think that set was a real return to a lot of League's beginnings, but in a modern setting in terms of his kit was relatively simple in terms of what you could do with it mechanically, but the way that it kind of fit together in the metagame and how it comboed various things was really, really fun to see. I think Senna and the way that they fit into the lore and how they ended up being being a very interesting kind of champion as to how they worked with various item builds. It's always been very fun too. I don't think I have like an out-and-out favorite or least favorite. And Yone is, speaking of new champions, needs to get out of there.
He manages to bounce back, however, it is going to be Sotsu who dashes away from the Leona Solar Flare. We've got a dragon spawning in less than a minute's time. Rift Herald has been summoned in mid. It's going to be a charge up from Ashe and Ivan. Meanwhile, Vision being cleared out by Sotsu here in the Drake pit. Of course, this could be quite crucial. Didol is forcing the flash out of Gregors. Meanwhile, Kane goes straight into the wall, finds yet more damage onto Motu Grumpy. Alpha Moss, however, looking to try and get himself his second penta of the game. It's going to be the Umbral straight into Alpha Moss, however. Alpha Moss is the one with all the damage in this fight. Heavy dubstep having to back away, having done so little for the opposition team. Didol goes in, finds quickness, finds the knock-up, but it's not enough. Sean F is going to find a kill onto Didol, turning this one around yet again in favour of the Cabbage Family as they find 2-1 so far. They're going to lose their support, but look at the damage being rained down. Yet again, Gregors on this Ashe. He stays alive, he finds damage, he turns fights for his team. It's going to be Lissandra taking the claw out to escape rather than going aggressive, still being chased down by Sean F, flashing away. Soul Unbound will get the pullback, and the Fake Seal not available anymore. And Yone within inches there of securing another kill, but will secure another dragon.
A couple of thoughts and prayers for your voice there. What happens with Kane and Ivern in the same game? The fights get elongated. We get shields, so many heals. We saw the healing coming out of Dubstep when that Gore Drinker was popped and the ult came through as well. It's just going to be one of these very brutal attrition fights, and what happens there is the shields keep coming through from Ivan. Has himself another component going up, and he's got Mikhail's Blessing coming up, so he has that QSS affect the rest of his team too, which would be very important for the Ashe. And I think the really important thing that DMUT1 were forced into that mono-directional fight again. They couldn't quite get onto the Gregors, who they'd forced the flash and the exhaust of just earlier into that fight, and they couldn't finish off that carry. DPS ruled supreme from Cabbage Family.
2,000 gold lead now over to Cabbage Family, and again 1,400 gold lead in favor of Shen over Set. However, this is one of those moments where you start asking the question, you haven't got the kills having gone over to the Ashe yet, just the assist. Yone, yes, a couple of kills is good, but we see gold parity in most of the other champions. In fact, some small advantages for DMUT1. If they can make Alpha Moss something of a non-factor, perhaps they can still take these crucial fights around objectives. They're going to need to do that more and more. Baron is, of course, now up. All of the next dragons will be potentially sold coming over.
Might be in trouble here.
He's able to escape though.
Close. I think if the Rakan knockup lands, maybe Heavy Dubstep can come through for enough damage to force out Pork off the map for a little while. Of course, has no flash. I think you're right in terms of the gold parity, but the problem is you look at the team composition. If it comes down to a 5v5 and not split fights, I think the Cabbage Family team composition is more than the sum of its parts. You have this Ivern who is going to be buffing up the Yone and making sure that he's continually outputting DPS. If he's outputting DPS, he's healing from the Shield Bow. He's healing from the Bloodthirster. Of course, Bloodthirster has crit now. That's double with his Yasuo-like passive. This Yone is ready to output plenty of DPS with the items he has, whilst also staying alive through so many heals, so many shields, and of course the QSS in the Mikhail's Blessing out of Pork 2.
For those of you who have been with us all night, you will know that the first game of the series was won by Cabbage Family before they dropped the next two. They did so well that they forced an FF out of DMUT1, who bounced back in great fashion. However, now it's Cabbage Family's time to turn the tide. RMX gets collapsed on, teleports are coming in as we see the Torn connecting. It's going to be mostly Grumpy stunning out. Didol doing what he can to prevent the support from combat going against him. Porf is going to die to Spirit. It's 1-0 in favour of DMUT1 as they look to turn things round. This is the fight I spoke of. Yone goes in, finds massive damage with the face seal. Sam J is going to die. There will be no more frozen thralls. This is a really tight fight. In the end, it just is a 1-for-1, I believe.
Just the 1-for-1. Porp goes down, but also Sam J does. Cabbage Family, more than some of the parts when they're there as a 5-man unit, sure, but they need that 5-man unit there. The only person that cannot do that and has an excuse to be not present at the start of the fight is the person with the global, and that's only the Shen. Yone wasn't there. That's a lot of their damage right now. We're talking about that's where the kills were. That's where the DPS will be, and the DPS uptime and with the healing is so important for Cabbage Family to win the DPS battle. Because Yone wasn't there, it opens up the chance for for the Ivern to be taken down, and DMU almost take themselves a sizable win.
I believe Shutdown Gold was secured by killing off Port because he had that 100% kill participation. That was the first death of the game for this. Ivan was still waiting on Ashe and Shen to have their first deaths of the game. As a result, we do see the gold lead is down below 1,000 now. So the fight is very much so still there for DMUT1, but it is fair to say Cabbage Family are still probably the favourites in this game.
I think they are. I think what might be the turning point is that DMU managed to find a fight when Kai'Sa has 3 items, has the Ruinous Hurricane, and maybe has something like the Rage Blade or the Infinity Edge, depending on the build coming through. And they're left unchecked because DMU are trying, as Cabbage Family rather, trying to fight front to back and take down one of these tanks. If Kai'Sa sees the opening, she is one of those do-it-all champions. With enough stats, Kai'Sa could do almost anything in League of Legends. So there's a lot of pressure now onto Soju to try and win this game for his team.
Tidal there looking like he was trying to bait out a solar flare, but it was not forthcoming. Blue buff is going to be secured. Paul able to get that one, and obviously give one away to somebody else for free as well. I think Yone might come along and secure a little bit of extra cooldown for himself. I'm not entirely sure if someone's out there who can pop our Twitch chat polling, because I don't think we had one for this game. And so far, there is a 0% success rate on the Twitch chat polls, and I want to see if they can try and fight one back.
Does that mean if there's no poll, the game literally cannot end? Fate
That's
will
it.
not allow
Someone
it.
get the poll started quickly.
Save a caster, start a poll. One thing which is also very important happening right now is see Rakan doing the vision game. We talked about this in regards to what happened in game 1 when Rakan was walking into Fog of War, running into Leona, dying pretty horribly. This time, Didol manages to get some vision around that Baron pit, very important. We talked about how Cabbage Family can play this Baron dance very appropriately with the Ivern being able to heal and shield, but because they're winning this vision battle, it gives them a lot of extra inroads into trying to fight out these big fights, which they have been struggling in.
Daisy already on the battlefield, starting to get shredded through. Won't be there available to get any knockups. Now this dragon has spawned. This would of course be an Infernal Soul should we see Cabbage Family secure it. This is going to be DMU trying to do everything they can to stop that from happening.
So they don't have Daisy anymore, none of that. Pseudo frontline with the big knockups, and this might come down to a smite fight, but the arrow lands.
Enchantress arrow lands on straight, not necessarily the target that would be wanted. Dragon goes down below half
Strong.
health, but that is going to be absolute obliteration of the Lysandra, who wasn't even able to ult in time. Meanwhile, RMX trying to do what he can. This could be the dragon picked up. Infernal Soul goes over, and now the kills are 2. Alpha Moss zoning on the background, yet again securing kill, this time onto the cave. Meanwhile, it's Gregors who's chasing, forcing a flash out of the Kai'Sa. Yone's going to bounce straight back. However, it's Kai'Sa and Didol who are the sole survivors from their team. Only mostly Drumpy was lost by Cabbage Family, and that means Baron can be started up by the Cabbages.
And speaking of Soul Survivor, it isn't the Infernal Soul. That's been claimed by Cabbage Family. One of those objectives which is so potent going into the later stages of the game. This Yone doing so much work, and of course, got to talk about Alphamos, has not died. 7-0 and 5 after that pentakill to put him up to 6-0. And Sean F90 looking to chunk out the Kai'Sa, looking to staunch any kind of contest.
He goes aggressively about the straight back. Baron is secured by all 5 members of Cabbage Family as they now find themselves in their 4,000 gold lead on what was a monumental victory around that dragon.
It was. I was actually a little bit scared there. I think I saw the Baron HP tick up as someone leveled up across the map, meaning that Baron got some extra HP. I believe that's what happened. So I thought that this might have missed. Either way, it was, what's the word? Secured. Yes, I can words. See, it's going. You need to start that Twitter poll because otherwise this game's gonna run out all of my words. And Cabbage Family have themselves a decent lead at this point. It isn't much given the timestamp, but given how their champions are doing in the team fights, a lot of their items are just working so well because it is only being fought around these 5v5s. DMU not able to split the map right now. They haven't managed to punish anyone on the sidelines, probably because Alphamos is so strong. I doubt this is... Look at that damage!
RMX comes in, looking to try and do something to Alphamos. Finds himself yet again unable to, and memories of a 4v1 in this inexact position from Alphamos in game 1 come to mind. I am happy to tell you that the poll has been completed. Cabbage Family is very much the popular vote. Now, do remember, Twitch chat has been wrong every time so far. Will this be the ultimate curse that helps DMUT1 out, or are we going to see the curse broken?
Congratulations, DMUT1. There's no way Cabbage Family can come back from a Twitch poll loss like that. I believe that's how it goes. Right, we do have ourselves a red buff able to be taken by the side of Cabbage Family, as Ivan did take that buff on his side of the map. We have Yone going back from base and has got the Infinity Edge. One of the changes to this patch was that Infinity Edge now gives you the increased crit damage after 60% crit chance has been secured, and gives you that extra 35 critical strike damage. So Yone very, very much online in terms of the DPS check.
Unsung hero Gregors yet again, as we see Spirit looking for the pullback. However, he gets taunted up, not even going to be able to find the Haymaker. Does throw down the Showstopper, does find the Haymaker, survives for a moment with the flash away, but Didol not going to be quite so lucky.
Shen.
He's going to be absolutely obliterated obliterated as Alphamos finds himself his 8th kill of the game without dying. The same is true for Gregors, who is now 1-0 and 12. Taunt is going to connect, but it is going to be a very, very dead Kane. Yone and the rest of the team will now crush down the base. Baron empowered minions cruise our way to Silver Scrapes. Cabbage family are back to play. It's going to game 5, Nightmare. I'm so damn excited.
We did predict it, or at least I did. I'll hold that one over you, Stan, as we do go towards that final game.
Sam goes in, tries to find Noldemar, but it's not going to be enough. Only keeping himself alive. Nexus is dead. Game is over. We're going to Silver Scrapes. Be woo woo, be woo woo, be woo woo.
Oof. Give myself a moment for my voice to recover. Gotta go have a look at one of those post-frame. Turns out both of those are up on this desk, and those team fights sure were something. This is what happens when an Ivern survives the early game, gets to the correct items, and has the correct carries to start buffing up. If you do have a good front-to-back team fight and a front line that can work for you, then Ivern just slots into this composition and just does so much work.
If you ask Santa for an amazing best of 5 series this Christmas, he is delivering early. We are going all the way in our grand final for this awesome prize that the Null is putting out. We will be back for that 5th game very, very shortly. Someone get me a drink.